And so it is, beloved masters. It is a time of tremendous change on the planet. And many of you are looking at the future and contemplating where it may go. But it is, beloved masters, have you really considered you in your future? You look out at the world, what they are creating, and many of you feel like the proverbial tin can behind the marital vehicle as the young couple takes off on their first ride after the wedding. But you're not a victim to what's going on the planet. And it is really time to consider imaging yourself, imagining yourself in your future. And you are creating that potential right now. Right now in this moment. What are you thinking about? Where are your emotions? What level of excitement and enthusiasm are you operating in? Your future self is being shaped by where you put your attention in this moment. And the ego mind may say, here we go again, another talk about where my focus is. Absolutely. Absolutely, beloved masters, because beyond what you think is there, beyond what you have been taught is real, is the world that you have dreamed of, desired for lifetimes. So, are you creating your future self fitting into those amazing dreams? Or are you thinking about your future self being trapped in the limits of what you are seeing basically in the media right now? And it is, beloved masters, to really consider. There was a movie that was made a number of years ago called Wag the Dog. And it was about how there are false presentations created to lead the group mind to a certain outcome. And there may be something real about these presentations, and there may be absolutely nothing real about them. But it is, beloved masters, to be willing to center into yourself, feel your energy getting anchored deep within you, and considering every time you turn on a television set, a computer, every time you pick up a newspaper, or walk through the supermarket or the pharmacy, and there are magazines that are screaming about terrorism everywhere. And that thread can be woven into your future consciousness if you so desire. But it is, beloved masters, the illusion has operated on logic, how the egoic mind works things out, and practicality. Let's get real. Let's be practical. So let us get real and let us be practical. For every event that is being put before the media in these times, that is being broadcast over and over and over. For, as you may notice, there's generally not a lot of new information. The whole situation is broadcast from the very first warning all the way through the event, adding little pieces of trivia that have been contributed perhaps hour by hour or day by day. And then perhaps another little piece of trivia is tacked on the end. But by the time the whole story is told, your fear, your worry, your anxiety, perhaps your cycle of revenge has been triggered again, one more time. And the world has not been taught in a long time the discipline of being present with yourself. Discipline to stay centered, to keep your balance, to align yourself in love, rather than with each new event that is presented, jumping on the roller coaster of reaction. So, beloved masters, as you are creating, examining, perhaps even embracing your future self, then bring your future self into love, rather than allowing your future potential to sit shivering outside of you, out there where the illusions are happening, and designing a future where the only possible outcome is more of the same. And it is, beloved masters, the children that have been born over the last 3 or 4 generations are children that have come to contribute to the changes, positive changes, on the planet. To ensure that these children, and yes, some of these children are now approaching 40. But these children came to help hold the intentions of the new planet, of greater things to happen. So, not only are you potentially creating your future self, but you are supporting right now in this moment how others are going to be creating their future. So it's not only basically looking for a group of frightened people that will support you in your fear, like attracts like, but the discipline to consider in love, is this the future I desire to live? Is this the future that I would give my children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren? I don't have any children. You're still, beloved masters, creating an energy that contributes to the future that the whole world is going to be living in. And the first most important dynamic is that you are imaging, creating the future potential for you. It's not a burden. It is not a responsibility and the weight of the world on your shoulders. It is a response ability. Are you able, from the Lord God of your being, to respond to the things that are going on in the world in a positive way? For every act of terrorism that is presented, there are hundreds of acts of love, hundreds of acts of goodness that are quietly performed, generously offered, dedicated to a greater, stronger, more powerful now, and a much more loving and desirable future. But these things are not mentioned. There may be a show here, or perhaps a clip on the news there that will mention a few that are doing amazing things. Even a few crumbs of notice given to the children. A 5-year-old girl who realized that warm blankets were not only a wonderful thing, but a necessity. And at 5 years old, the little girl began to ask people to help her get blankets together to send to nursing homes, homeless shelters, even to distribute them to people on the street. The child has been giving blankets for 2 years. This little girl is now 7. Dedication. A 5-year-old, people would say, couldn't hold the focus of something like that for very long at all. Their attention would wander and they would forget. And yet this little girl is extremely dedicated. After 2 years, she can talk quite clearly about what she is doing, what she desires to accomplish, and why. You look at young men on the planet, and so often what you see on your television is a young man with a gun in his hand, or his hands handcuffed behind his back, because another young man has just murdered a bunch of people. There are a number of young men who have gotten together and they go to one house into the basement, 12 and 13-year-old young men, and they have gathered computers that people no longer want. And they take the computers and rebuild them and donate them to families that can't afford computers. And they take it very seriously. They have a wonderful time. They enjoy what they're doing. They are creating astounding outcomes. But you don't hear a great deal about them. There are people, quote unquote, ordinary people. Beloved masters, none of you are ordinary. There really is not an ordinary person on this planet. But there are, quote unquote, by the world's term, ordinary people that are helping other people, that are giving nobly of time and money and energy, and they enjoy what they are creating. They feel fulfilled and uplifted by the assistance they offer. And you don't hear about those people nearly so much as you hear about the people that are involved in another riot, in another protest, in another incidence of mob mind. And yet, for 1,000 people that would gather together to protest, there are 100,000 that are quietly going about their way of assisting others and potentially, energetically adding to the future of the earth in a positive way. But not only that, by their joy and their dedication and their willingness to allow themselves to really feel good about what they are creating, right now in this moment, they are establishing their own future potential. So often you hear someone say, where will you be 5 years from now? Where will you be 10 years from now? What will you be doing then? And we say, hopefully not doing, hopefully allowing, hopefully creating, and even more grandly, being. But not doing. Because there is so much desperation around the word doing in these times. In many ways, there has been throughout the illusion. What am I going to do? And the hands are wrung, and it is a desperate plea. Still yourself. Still yourself. I can't do that. I don't have time. There's too much going on. There's too much pressure. There's too many things to do. Take the time every day to sit quietly, to spend 10 minutes being. Quiet your mind, relax, relax. Are you going to create a future potential that is so tense that they can't think, that they can't breathe, that they can't even function in some instances? Because the energy is so focused on doing. What I've got to do, and what I've got to do next, and what I've got to do after that. Right now, began to let go of doing one thought at a time. You cannot let go of doing right now, let it go, and not have it come back again. The ego mind wants to just do something once and never have to do it again. And yet, as you are discovering you now, you are also finding and aligning to your future self. The future that you imagine as you look out there is potentially the future you'll find. But it also will shape who you are today, because it's all connected. Who you are and who you are becoming are not two different people or two separate entities, even though by the time you arrive in that potential future, you may feel like a different person. It's still you. You have simply changed. To change, to shift, to move your consciousness, to fine-tune your focus so that you're not looking at the future through a blurred potential, but you are, through your strong connection to goodness, to love within yourself, viewing the possibilities of the future through a clear glass, through a clean perspective. Your future self. Where will you be in 5 years? Can you imagine yourself in 5 years? Looking at where the planet is, can you imagine that there will be a planet in 5 years? And beloved masters, humanity has been moving through difficult and trying times for thousands of years. Ages have come and gone. And every time a new age comes into place, it creates a time of crisis. And the earth has been at a place where it could make a grand movement forward before. And those who desired to keep the world where it is got very busy designing a potential of a future that would perpetuate what had been going on. Life without war? Can you imagine life without war? Because every time there has been a period where there wasn't a war, the history books point to a great deal of difficulty in the financial climate of the planet. So the belief has been that wars keep things going. So are you consciously or unconsciously designing war into your future? Even if you cannot imagine a planet without war, can you imagine a peaceful planet? A planet where people care. A planet where the consciousness is about unity and harmony. Of finding those elements in others that are inviting, exciting, interesting, intriguing, looking for the things that can create a positive future without war.